Yeah, hi there, this is tuxocher.com. Welcome on my video channel again. And today we want to talk about Sonar X in the last version, that is the May 2020 update. Sonar X advertises that the program is an alternative to Lightroom and the Photoshop CC combination. And so we want to check out some examples. That's not a tutorial, and see if this message is true. So let's get to the desktop PC. Okay, we are now here in Sonar X, and I already cataloged my images from Drive G that you can see here. And here we are in the browser, and here we can select the browse mode under sort by, and that is show subfolder contents, and then you get an overview like maybe you are used from other programs. Okay, but one of the big advantages of Sonar X, you can go into any folder, so you don't have to import the images first. During your import, they read in the EXIF metadata and generate the preview data in the cache, but you also can switch to any folder you like. Let's take this one here from 2011, and here you see it may take a little bit before the thumbnails are read in. And if I switch to the 2015 folder, here you can see it again, that the reading in the previews. And if we do a sort by here, the show subfolder content is grayed out, so it's not usable. So this only works if the folder is in the catalog. Okay, let's switch back to here, the images I prepared, and now we switch to the preview mode, and here we can see the first image, and here we got the metadata of the image, and if there are GPS data included, like in this one from a Canon 60 Mark II, you can switch to the card or map mode module, where you can see where the location of the image was. Now we switch back to the preview, and now we will switch to the development module, but you got here two different one. That is the first develop module, that is sort of for general processing the image, and you got another one, that's the editor module, that we take a look at it closer. A little bit later we switch to the development module, and here we have all the tools you need for basic raw development. Like on this one, I would take down the lights a little bit, maybe even the exposure like this, and opening up the shadows a little bit, which are too dark now, like this. Add a little bit of clarity. The haze is not necessary in this picture. Add a little bit of saturation and vibrance, and that would be the basic processing. You could add a gradient filter to the image to even darken the sky a little bit more, but I guess that shows the general capabilities of this program. Okay, we switch to another image like this one, that you can see is heavily tilted. So first of all, we go to the crop module, and here we got the angle symbol, and with this one we can draw a line on the surface of the sea, so we get a perfectly horizontal picture. Make it close, that's it. And here we would like to close down the exposure a little bit, opening up the shadows, closing down the lights, clarity, maybe a little bit of dehaze, add saturation like this one. Oh, make it a little bit brighter. You can see here that if I take a ruler like exposure or so and I move it, the preview display lags a little bit behind, but okay. And now we take this example here, but this time we move to the editor module, but because we want to do something with layers, we duplicate this layer, add a mask, take here the selection tool, and here you got a magic whistle like you probably know from Photoshop, and we just want to mark here the sky area, and as you can see here, the sky area is already pretty perfectly masked. Add this to a mask for this layer. Okay, here we got the masking like this one. So we got mainly only the sky, and now with the corrections or adjustment here, we can do like go down a little bit with the exposure, go like this, and bring down the exposure a little bit. Oh, that might be enough to bring the clouds a little bit better, increase the contrast a little bit, and maybe we drop down the lights, and that should be all. And now you can see the difference in the two images, or better, the two layers, if I display the one with the mask and hide it again. Okay, that is just a very short example about the layers. And we switch back. Oh, we have to save that. Here you can save the image with the layers. That's our own format by Sonar, but you also could combine the layers and save it as a regular TIFF file. Okay, here you see the original raw, and here the one processed with the layers. Okay, next example is here. That's a shot taken with my Lumix G81, and it was shot as ISO 6400. That's a pretty high ISO setting. And now we go to the development module and try to reduce the noise. We have to go down here, and then we reduce the noise in the brightness. We take 100% view, and we also reduce the color noise. But even if I drive that up almost to 100%, you still see here the noise in the unsharp background. And if, for example, I take here the same image processed in Lightroom, that's at least a little bit better with the settings compared to Sonar X. Go here where more details should be visible, but there's still a whole lot of noise in the unsharp background. Let's go back to the folder, go back to the manager module, go to the folder, to the browser here, and then I prepared, for example, here HDR, and here I got 6 images. The last one is not part of the series. I marked those 5 here. Now I go to create and want to try to use HDR via blending, but here you can see the limitation. You need to provide either 2 or 3 images. So with the exposure series or bracketing with 5 images, Sonar can't handle, but I think that's okay. Mostly I take my HDR base images with only 3 images at an exposure value difference of plus or minus 2. In this case I did 5 with the exposure difference of only 1 exposure value. So we might as well take out the most overexposed and we just keep the most overexposed and the most underexposed like here, and deselect the middle range, and then we click next. Here we can see the different values. That's here underexposed correctly and overexposed. That's okay. Click next again, and there is no software alignment needed because they were taken from a tripod. So we click next again, and here we got the preview. Here play around with the shadows and the lights, but this preview looks pretty good, so I will keep it and just click next. And now we have the choice to open it in the editor where we can play around with layers, but I choose to open up in development module, but we need to save it first as a regular TIFF file. And now the development module is opened. That looks already pretty good, and I'll take down the exposure a little bit to darken the sky even more, darken the lights and open up the shadows like this. Add a little bit of saturation and vibrance to it, and even to make the sky a little bit darker. There's a polarizing filter effect here in Zona X, and that would be already pretty good image HDR done by Zona, and it's very neutral, doesn't have the typical HDR effects, and that's a pretty good choice, and we could process it even further, but that should be all here for this short video. And the HDR is here saved into the folder and automatically added to the catalog. Now we have another example. We go here into this folder, and here we have 21 base images from for Panorama, and this was shot handheld. We go here to Panorama. At this point we can select other images or deselect the images I already marked, but that is okay so far. Go to next. Now we will load the thumbnails. Okay, I speeded this up a little bit. I don't want to bore you, it takes quite a while. Here we got the thumbnails from the images for the panorama. Go to next. Then he automatically determines the focal length in this case. You only have to set it if you use the manual lens, which doesn't provide the focal length in the EXIF metadata. Go to next. And now we will prepare a preview from the panorama, and that already looks pretty good. Okay to me. Go to next. The program determines already how to crop this panorama. Go to next. Now he will create a full resolution panorama. Okay, I speeded that up too, and here we just like in the HDR dialog, you have the same opportunities, either to open it up in the editor or open it in development. We choose development again, and again the program will save the 16-bit TIFF file, and here we got the final panorama, and that looks pretty good. I won't do any processing here so far. That should be enough to demonstrate the main capabilities of Zona X. As you could see, the Zona X is a really sophisticated RAW converter with all settings you need for editing your file. You have everything on board. You have the main settings like light, shadows, and so on. You got the color wheels and like, for example, the effect of a polarizing filter and an end. And in addition, you got the layer option, which is beautiful to me. That gives you the chance to mask out certain objects in the image and manipulate the image even more. On the other hand, Zona X costs around 39 euros a year in the subscription model. There are some advertising that it's cheaper, like I think last week or 2 weeks ago they offered Zona X at 23 euros a year, and maybe you get a special offer so you get it a little bit cheaper. Zona X got HDR. The only limitation is that the HDR function only likes 2 or 3 images, which is for regular use okay, because you do a HDR with a difference of 2 exposure values in each image. So in most of the times 3 images would be sufficient to get a good image in a high contrast scene. The panorama function is okay. It takes quite a while to get the thumbnails. That's a little bit surprising because the image that I showed you here in the video are already in the catalog, so I don't know why they take over a minute to present the previews. And stitching the panorama takes some time. But if you don't do panoramas on a regular base, I guess you would then prefer Petit GUI Pro. And so it doesn't matter that much that Zona X takes quite some time to stitch a regular panorama. We can state that Zona X is, to me, a pretty good RAW converter, and it's surely worth the price. But to answer the question at the beginning of the video, is it an alternative to Lightroom and Photoshop CC? In my opinion, not. Because the main management functions are missing to me. That is at least collections, smart collections, and so on. And it's a little bit surprising that that was a fact too. 2 years ago, when I did the review on the 2018 version of Zona X, until now they didn't implement any collections, albums, or how you call it, and the counterpart, the smart collection, where you can define to which collection an image is sorted into by just adding some keywords or as part of the EXIF metadata. On the other hand, they worked on the photo books and other things. I think that's not the right way, but okay, you have to accept that. And then I tried at last to share an image onto Facebook, so I logged into Facebook via Zona X, and that was, to me a little bit annoying, because the image is uploaded to Zona's own cloud, and then on Facebook they just place a link to the Zona cloud, and that is an absolute no-go for a program. So I like the options in Lightroom where I can share right away onto Facebook, and with some other plugins I can share images on Twitter or Instagram too. Worth the price? Yes, of course. But you have to decide, because Zona X is only available for Windows systems. But compared to the combination Lightroom CC and Photoshop CC, it is not an alternative. But it's a quite good RAW converter, and they even support now the Lumix G81 and the Lumix G9. But I think you're a little bit behind in Zona X if you have a relatively new camera until they support the native RAW format. Okay, that was my little review on Zona X. If you have any questions here, just place them into the comments here in the video or in the comments of the corresponding blog post. And if this video was a little bit of help to you, you might as well place a like on the video. And I surely would appreciate if you subscribe my channel, but then don't forget to hit the bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. Okay, that was my little review on Sonar X, and that's all for today, so I have to say, till the next time, ciao, Tux Oche.